So I'm really excited about this webinar tonight. First of all, a lot of people that are currently using all three levels of Phonics Lesson Library, and I also see a lot of our colleagues in the chat today. So hey, everybody, great to see you, and I'm delighted to be here with my colleagues Barbara and Shanitra and Joni and Leah. So thanks again for joining us to hear about this amazing one-of-a-kind phonics intervention, our Phonics Lesson Library 2.0. And those of you that use it know that it is indeed very special, and that the 2.0 version is really this next generation that we're going to be introducing to you tonight. So for those of you who currently use the Phonics Lesson Library, I think you're going to be delighted to see this next generation. And there's more. You're going to learn about the LIS, Literacy Intervention System. You're going to learn about the Phonics Lesson Library, and you'll have the opportunity at the end of the webinar to receive a trial to the Phonics Lesson Library 2.0. So be sure to stay with us for that wonderful opportunity. So most, if not all of you, are familiar with 95% Group, but I just like to reiterate at the beginning of all of our webinars who we are and what we stand for, because we truly are a mission-driven organization. We believe, like all of you joining us, that all children deserve a chance to learn to read. And our purpose is to unlock the power of literacy for every child by building on the science, to empower teachers, and in fact, all educators with knowledge, resources, and support to transform developing readers. And we have a great track record of doing all of these things. And we're delighted to support you and partner with you to continue to drive forward that shared mission. So this diagram is really kind of showing our key products in each tier of instruction, because we're really pretty distinctive, I think, in the marketplace, that we have this literacy ecosystem, this 195 literacy ecosystem, which is a cohesive suite of resources that align with our standards of excellence and align across tiers of instruction. So this diagram shows those tiers of instruction. Tier 1, core instruction, we have our Phonics core program, our 30-minute-a-day solution for the foundational skills in K-5. And our Tier 2 solution, the focus of this webinar tonight, is our Phonics Lesson Library. And within Tier 2 is our Literacy Intervention System, providing that phonics screener for intervention, that digital diagnostic assessment and intervention instruction that's cohesive and really designed to drive instruction to student needs. And our Tier 3 intensive intervention is 95 WRAP. All of these resources follow an ecosystem approach of structured literacy based on the science of reading, this common skills backbone that you'll learn about tonight, and instructional routines and lessons that are consistent. So that's what makes our ecosystem unique, distinctive, and special. So without further delay, I want to turn it over to my colleague, Shanitra Dees. Shanitra, take it away.
So good evening, everyone. Just want to spend a few minutes today sharing a high-level overview of our 95 Literacy Intervention System. So the 95 Literacy Intervention System is designed to make teaching more efficient while driving better outcomes for students. So here are some highlights. It quickly diagnoses phoneme awareness and phonics skill gaps, providing data at the granular level. The system automatically organizes and manages student groups for instruction, saving valuable planning time. And real-time progress monitoring ensures that students get the support they need when they need it. With centralized data, teachers, administrators, collaborators across the school and the district can stay aligned, making it a great fit for your MTSS multi-tiered systems of support framework. And with embedded professional learning, teachers can confidently implement evidence-based instruction. So what do we know about the student? Understanding that the student is the heart of the 95 Literacy Intervention System, here's how it works. As students read, teachers observe, listen, mark performance to highlight pattern errors like hesitations or consistent struggles with sounds. Assessments are seamlessly integrated into other devices like Chromebooks, iPads, laptops, and audio recordings can be captured for future review. This data shared in real time allows teachers to provide the right support at the right time. And so it's all about building success for the students. And so here you see just what I mentioned with the syncing to a laptop or Chromebook, seeing those common errors, being able to observe, listen, and mark those errors and recording in real time. So once you assess the students, one of the most exciting aspects of the 95 literacy intervention system is how connected identified skill gaps are to specific targeted resources. So let's say a student needs support with a particular skill, teachers can easily and quickly open those digital intervention tools to add resources to the playlist for later access, or view instructional resources. The playlist is a feature that is incredibly flexible, giving teachers and students an easy way to revisit important materials. And so this is going to ensure that every moment in the classroom is used effectively and efficiently, driving for better outcomes for teachers and students. And now, without further ado, I would like to turn it over to my dear colleague, Joni Mayville.
Now we are rolling. We're rolling with fuel now. Here we go. All right. So thanks to Nitra. And I am so excited to, along with my colleagues, to introduce the brand new 95 Phonics Lesson Library 2.0 for you. After 15 years of proven success, 95% Group's legacy intervention program, which is the PLL that we're talking about, has been refreshed and enhanced. And I can't wait to give you a sneak peek into all the exciting updates. So for those of you who are currently using the original program, hold on to your seats because this is going to be exciting. Let's see if I can get this slide show to actually work. There we go. Okay, so we just heard Shanitra explain how the 95 literacy intervention system works to help teachers assess and group students and make it easier to move from that assessment and that screening data directly into instruction. So now I'm going to give you a closer look at the instructional component of this system, which is the 95 Phonics Lesson Library, or as we like to call it, and you will hear me reference it frequently, the PLL. So if you're not familiar with it, the PLL is our Tier 2 phonics intervention program that's designed to align skill for skill with the 95 phonics screener for intervention that Shanitra had mentioned. It's an explicit, easy to use resource that gives teachers the tools they need to deliver targeted phonics instruction to students in first grade and beyond. Many of the key features you loved in the original ESSA Level 2 evidence-based phonics lesson library have stayed the same in the PLL 2.0 because we know if it's proven effective, why change it? But we have made some substantial changes that I think you will agree will make this program even more effective. So we still offer the explicit 5-day lessons that build phonics proficiency through a structured literacy routine. Additionally, 95% Group's effective transfer to text process that everybody knows and loves through many of our products ensures that the students successfully apply what they've learned to real reading, and this reinforces their skills in meaningful ways. So then you ask, what makes the PLL 2.0 even better? It's all about the flexibility and the new digital features. So integrating these digital tools that you'll learn more about tonight into this instruction of the PLL makes it more efficient, effective, and engaging, and it maximizes the impact in today's classrooms. So you will get to learn a little bit more about that exciting piece coming up. So this will look familiar to many of you who are using the original PLL. It is the same skill progression that we had with our original PLL. It's proven, it's a comprehensive sequence, and it includes all the essential skills that students need to become confident, skilled readers. The 95 Phonics Lesson Library supports phonics proficiency by breaking the content into 75 targeted skills. There are no other intervention programs that I'm aware of that break it down that granular. So this allows educators to pinpoint exactly what skills the students need, and then each skill can be taught through a structured 5-day lesson, which ensures that thorough instruction and practice. So as you can see on the slide, the skill progression's organized so where there's 32 lessons at the basic level, there's 25 at the advanced level, which is highlighted with that orange header bar, and 18 at the multi-syllable level, which has the navy blue header bar. So take a moment just to look at that skill sequence. And if you are currently using the original PLL, you will notice it has not changed. What we have done is become a little more precise with our titling to help support a quick understanding of what the skill is going to encompass by looking at the title. Okay, so now I want to take a look at some quick overview, very high level changes that have been made to the new PLL 2.0. So as you can see here, this is the 5-day timing guide, and we have something similar to this for the original PLL that can be found on the platform. If you have access to that, it would be nice for you to print it, and you can really lay them side by side to be able to see what the exact differences are. But I've highlighted 4 in particular here for you. So one important change is that we enhanced the daily 2-minute review. In the new version, 3 out of the 5 days now include phonemic awareness warm-up tasks. These are only 2 minutes, but we know research shows that phonemic awareness is essential for developing strong reading skills. So especially for students that are struggling with phonics. So because of that, we've added this additional time in every day or 3 of the 5 days to be able to strengthen that phonemic awareness through activities such as blending, segmenting, and manipulating the actual phonemes and words. One other major update is the flexibility to extend the lesson. So this has always been something that our professional learning team or the coaches have come out and supported teachers with, but now we have explicitly stated and added this extension. So if after 2 days of instruction, students are still struggling to recognize the pattern, you can extend the lesson, the 5-day lesson, by 1 or 2 more days, spending more time modeling, practicing, and reinforcing the skill using phonics chips or syllable bars. This also provides that you do stage using the phonics chips and syllable bars, which aren't present on that day 1 of instruction. So unlike the original version of the PLL, this extra practice is now built directly into the lesson plan, which makes it easy for teachers to adjust their instruction based on their students' needs. Similar to the original version, PLL 2.0 follows a 5-day lesson progression where students gradually apply what they've learned through reading and writing tasks. You see that it still has the sound spelling mapping, sentence dictation, different levels of fluency practice, as well as word chaining. But a key component that still remains but has been changed slightly is our transfer to text. We have allowed more time towards the end of the week for students to really dive deep into that passage and have more time to read through it, and also to provide that extra designated time for students to be able to respond and also build vocabulary that's found within the passages. This was something that through some focus groups was a big request that we heard, and so we have made an effort and feel that we've done a substantial job in improving and enhancing upon the students' experiences with the passage. So I'm going to just pause for a moment so you can read what Jennifer Harris, our Chief Product Officer, has said about the new Phonics Lesson Library 2.0. So as you see here, Jen describes PLL 2.0 as best in class with new digital features that provide greater flexibility for implementation. She emphasizes that these enhancements take intervention instruction to the next level. So I'm going to refer to a lot of these key changes that we're going to be seeing as next level enhancements. So I'm going to walk you through some of these next level enhancements that have been intentionally built into the PLL 2.0 to make this already effective intervention even more impactful. So when redesigning the Phonics Lesson Library, we gathered feedback from educators through multiple focus groups. We did this for many months prior to actually beginning our creation, and then also throughout our creation, getting feedback from educators who are currently using the original PLL, as well as educators who aren't using the PLL and would be interested in using an intervention program such as this. So a key takeaway that we came out of with these focus groups was the need for easy preparation, simple implementation, and greater flexibility. Those were our our token takeaways from these focus groups, and we wanted to make sure that we placed every effort we could when we were enhancing this program to make sure that it could be easily prepared, the instruction was simple, and that educators had the flexibility on how they were going to facilitate it. And so we'll get into those pieces. So if you're familiar with the current PLL with and seen in the chat that many of you are, you'll recognize the images on the left side of the slide. So each of the 75 lessons comes in an individual booklet. They're paired with various manipulatives and materials, and they're all stored in those little plastic baggies with the little hooks so they could be hung up or they could be put in a tub or a file folder. While this was effective, we know that organizing and maintaining these materials takes significant time and effort. So with PLL 2.0, we took educators' feedback to heart and made setup and implementation easier and more flexible. So as shown on the right side of the slide, each skill is now organized in a spiral-bound teacher's edition, placing the 75 separate booklets into individual teacher's editions, housing skill 2 in a teacher's edition, skill 3 in a teacher's edition, skill 4, skill 5, and so on. Additionally, the new manipulative kit, which can be purchased with PLL 2.0, includes the phonics chips, which was not the case in our previous version. It also comes with a magnetic whiteboard. This makes it really easy for teachers to be able to access what they need and facilitate that hands-on learning. The kit also comes with teacher cards, header cards, word cards, mirrors, for being able to practice that articulatory gesture, the placement in the mouth, and then other essential instructional resources, which you see here. You've got some ringed cards, which I will talk a little bit about later on, which I'm super excited about. And then before I get into the little image up in the right-hand corner, which is something that I will be eager to share, I want to talk a little bit about one of the requests that we get often is, can we print the materials that we have in the PLL lesson? And with the current PLL, the original PLL, there were some things that we allowed you to print that we provided access to on the platform and on the portal. With the PLL 2.0, all manipulatives are now printable. That includes teacher and student header cards, word cards, fluency tables, review grids, phonics chips, syllable bars, sound spelling mats, everything included in the new PLL 2.0 can be printed from the platform. So no more sitting down at a U table and realizing you're missing a set of cards or missing a header card or missing chips. While you're planning for those lessons, if you realize you're missing something, you can easily print it, download it, and print it and prepare it for your students. So one of the most exciting upgrades is pictured up here in the right-hand corner. So if you're familiar with our Phonics Core program, which is our Tier 1 Phonics curriculum, you will be familiar with our teacher presentation files, which are very helpful during instruction. We have added teacher presentation files to the facilitation abilities of the new PLL 2.0. These presentation files are seamlessly aligned with the instructional dialogue that's presented in the teacher guides. It provides a very easy way to be able to model and practice during the I do and we do stages of every lesson without having to fidget with some of those materials. As a former educator, I think something like this would be very valuable to me, because then I could really focus on making those formative observations and those formative assessments that I need to during that I do, we do portion of the lesson without having to worry about organizing my materials. Okay, so let's continue highlighting the next level enhancements in PLL 2.0 by looking at how the lesson design has been improved. So I thought this was a really powerful slide. It really shows the intentionality in the new design of our layout. On the left, you can see the previous version. On the right, you can see the new updated version. So as you can see, the new layout is cleaner and more user-friendly. Our product team intentionally added more white space on each page to reduce eye strain, making it easy to follow along during instruction. The instructional dialogue has also been strategically organized so teachers can stay on track while delivering lessons in a way that feels very natural and organic rather than feeling overly scripted. Additionally, the pages are now structured with clear margins, creating a distinct separation between the text, which falls on the left side of the page, and the images, which fall on that right margin of the page. This layout makes it super easy to navigate lessons quickly and focus on those key instructional elements. So another key enhancement in PLL 2.0 is the integration of their gradual release of responsibility model into every section of the daily lessons. This is especially helpful for teachers who may be less familiar with the instructional routines used in our literacy ecosystem. So as shown on the right, the fluency routine has been expanded to include the I do, we do, and you do stages of instruction clearly labeled. This added structure supports teachers in all experience levels at all experience levels, ensuring that lessons are delivered with clarity and confidence. More importantly, it provides the scaffolding students need to grasp and retain each skill. So adding the gradual release model in the few spots where it was missing is a significant improvement from the original PLL that strengthens the instruction and skill application. So, feedback from our focus groups made it clear that many educators found it challenging to manage instruction using 2 or 3 decodable passages within a 5-day lesson. Teachers shared that students often would get frustrated because didn't have enough time to read both passages in full, never knew what would happen at the end of the passage. As a teacher, I know that was always something that I was yearning for, is to find out what actually would happen at the end. So this made it hard to focus on the comprehension, which we know is that outcome we're looking for with accurate fluent reading. So this input from these focus groups greatly impacted the products team's decision to streamline the lesson structure. So in PLL 2.0, each lesson now has 1 decodable passage instead of 2. While we know that having that access to different decodable text is always valuable, the goal of intensive phonics instruction within this 30-minute lesson led us to prioritize depth over quantity. So students will still follow the same transfer to text process where they will highlight the words on day 1, read the highlighted words on day 2, but now they have day 3, 4, and 5 really to spend that time digging into that passage, building vocabulary development. So there are vocabulary words that are addressed during this time on days 3, 4, and 5. And then it also provides that designated time for written and oral responses, really deepening that comprehension of the text. So this next level enhancement will be a welcomed improvement, I'm sure, by many educators, just based on what we were hearing in our focus groups. So now that I've got you on the edge of your seats by spotlighting some of those more significant enhancements made to the new PLL 2.0, I'd like to take a closer look at the features actually in the lessons. So similar to the original PLL, each section includes recommended time allotments to guide pacing for teachers so they can stay on track with that 30-minute lesson. In PLL 2.0, the goal of each lesson component is clearly presented at the top of each section rather than the bottom where it previously was in the original, so that teachers know exactly right out of the gates what skill and outcome to focus on. Most importantly, the explicit lesson structure ensures that teachers can deliver instruction with confidence and clarity, which is true of all of our products. This, we know, leads to greater success for our students and teachers, quite frankly. Each lesson includes instructional dialogue, which is different than a script. It's designed to spark that engaging conversation between teachers and students, which we know is so important in that learning cycle. So this not only keeps students actively involved, but it also supports that oral language development as they learn those new phonics skills. To make instruction even clearer, helpful images have been placed alongside the text, providing visual support. And throughout the lesson, purposeful teacher notes, which are in the Roman text, which is that non-bold font, it offers guidance on how best to support students and different methods for facilitating particular parts of the instruction. This will ensure smooth and practical learning experiences for all students. Because digital is one of PLL 2.0's next level enhancements, the digital and print materials are listed to help teachers prepare for each lesson. So it's very clear on when to go ahead and launch the digital components that the students will be using, which we'll talk about in a little bit, or when to make sure you have those physical materials available. The lessons follow a gradual release of responsibility, which we've talked about more than once during this presentation. It's throughout the program and it's labeled very clearly. So you know if it's time for you to model where students are watching, or if you're inviting students to practice with you, or when it's time for students to practice that application on their own. So as I mentioned earlier, there's also a focus on offering varied opportunities for student response, which reinforces that high level of engagement. So it's important anytime students are asked to respond, they're responding chorally with 100% engagement. So you see here where it says, let's read this sentence together. That helps really encourage that oral language development and that high level of engagement. So to provide plenty of practice opportunities, word lists are already provided for you, and there are plenty of prompts and words, so you will not have to come up with those on your own, more than you will need in the time that is permitted. So if there is time somewhere else during the day where you'd like to do a couple additional practice activities with students, there's plenty for you to use. The lesson format is designed to be visually clear, making it easy for teachers to move through the lesson smoothly. And each lesson is strategically built to include a spiral review of previously taught patterns. This cumulative structure ensures that the learning sticks. So on this particular page in the word chain, you can see that the focus of this lesson, which is 2.4, is short O. However, they've built in opportunity to review short I, which was 2.3, the lesson before it. And then if you see over in the additional word chains to the right, you can see we've even incorporated short A, which was 2.1. So ensuring that those students are continually getting that additional practice of previously learned skills is very important and has been intentionally embedded throughout. So just as our previous, the original PLL, there are throughout the days, the 5 days, students will apply their knowledge using a variety of multimodal approaches. They'll practice with articulating phonemes using mirrors. They'll manipulate color-coded phonics chips or syllable bars in the multi-syllable lesson to provide pattern, or I'm sorry, to really solidify and build those patterns and words that they're learning. They'll participate in word sorting activities. And then like all of our programs, we encourage that 100% engagement with using gestures that represent syllable types. So you will reinforce those syllable types through that overt action of gesturing. Additionally, students will be asked to write words and sentences because we know that actually putting either their pencil to paper is really important and challenges their ability to apply that new and previous learning that they've retained. So this slide's exciting to me because this has some never before created tools for this new 2.0. And we know that in 95% group, it is our mission to build on science, to empower teachers with the knowledge, resources, and support they need to help students become strong readers. So what we've done is exactly that. We've provided teachers with resources that will help them be able to facilitate these lessons with confidence. So there'll be a 40-page implementation guide that will have everything you need to know as you are walking through the lessons of the PLL 2.0. In the middle, you can see there is an interactive 8.5 by 11 bookmark. It's called Tool for Elevating Oracy. It's two-sided, It's a plastic and it is expected to be written on with dry erase markers, so you can check mark exactly which scaffolds you're going to be using, and then use that bookmark and move it throughout your instructions so it's always there and your eyes can always be on it. So you're using those scaffolds, sentence stems, frames, for supporting your students anywhere during the instruction. And then these are routine or reference cards. So we have gotten lots of requests about putting our routines at the hands of educators at the point when they need it. And so not only is it built into the actual lessons, but there will be cards on a ring that come in the manipulative kit that you can flip through, and they have our 6-syllable types, they have our routines on them, they have some our division rules on how to do a simple division, a complex division, also some points of reminders to make sure you're implementing with fidelity. So these tools are very powerful. And even if you don't have the manipulative kit, once again, these tools can all be printed from the platform. So if for some reason you don't have access to the manipulative kit, you will have access to these by being able to print them on the platform. Again, remember, everything you see can be printed. So really, I'm proud of these tools. They're the first of their kind in our ecosystem, and we're confident that you will find them to be a valuable resource as you are beginning to implement PLL 2.0. So we don't just offer those standalone supports. We believe in embedding them wherever they're needed throughout the program. So this is a big difference with PLL 2.0. You're going to find these embedded supports that include ways to scaffold for your students, steps for giving timely feedback. We know that is super important, especially in our small groups for our readers who are trying to excel at a particular skill. And then the instructional routines. Once again, you can't have those placed too many times in too many locations. Those are very important to the success of the program. So those are also embedded throughout. So these are actually found on the insides of the lesson plans to support you. So I'm going to stop there for a minute because I've been talking for a really long time. I'm going to get into the digital pieces here in a minute, which are the big piece of the flexibility that educators have asked for. Is there anything that we need to talk about or questions we need to answer? I see that you've done a great job doing that. Is there anything we want to talk about?
One of the questions that's come up a few times, Joni, is about the updates that were made to passages. Could you just talk about how those passages were updated?
Sure. So the passages, many of the passages are very close to the same. What we did is we had all 3 passages, laid them out side by side, and chose the best of the 3. We took them through a thorough DEI review, editorial review, and some of them we just had them rewritten to make sure that they were very decodable, high level of decodability, and contained as many pattern words as possible. So a lot of those passages are going to look familiar with you, to you, with a few exceptions and a few minor changes. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and continue and talk about the biggest piece, which is that the flexibility that was requested from these focus groups. So just as a reminder, the biggest takeaways from our focus groups was that easy preparation and simple implementation, which I've talked a little bit about in the previous slides. Now we're going to shift our focus to that other key enhancement that was requested, which is flexibility. So this was a repeated request from educators. So we made intentional updates, ensuring the program is more adaptable to different teaching styles and classroom needs. So I'm going to show you how the amazing new digital components provide greater flexibility for teachers and students. So the most transformative update to PLL 2.0 is the addition of the new digital features. So with the introduction of the new PLL 2.0 comes a digital solution for student application, and we call it Student Activity Modules, or SAMs for short, because who can have enough acronyms, right? So We simply call it SAM or SAMs if we're talking about more than one. But essentially what these are engaging student activity modules, just as it's named, that will replace the actual manipulatives. So students can sort words on the SAM. Students can move chips on the SAM. Students can highlight pattern words in a passage on the SAM. So most of the things, except for any writing components that are presented in a you-do stage of the lesson, can be done using the SAM or the student activity modules on a student device such as a tablet or a Chromebook or a laptop. So that's in addition to what I've already talked about, which is the teacher presentation files. So now not only do we have a great option, digital option for teachers, which is the teacher presentation file, which would be used during that I do and we do stages of the lesson. And then the students would then move into the student activity modules to be able to do that you do stage or that that independent application. So this means a teacher could implement PLL 2.0 completely digital, which would mean minimal prep and zero need for material management. So how about that? Now we know that's not everybody's cup of tea. So that is why we've provided all this flexibility, because many people using the old original PLL may prefer those physical manipulatives, and we understand that. So we have still provided those manipulative kits, but we do really want to focus on the ease of the digital components, and we really encourage you to be able to try those out, and we'll talk about how you can do that in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to walk through some examples of what using the digital components might look like in a classroom. So on the left, you would see an example of what modeling would look like using the digital presentation files. So a teacher would be sitting at the U table with the students, either using a tablet or a Chromebook, and be able to actually model and practice with the students, moving the chips, sorting the word cards, highlighting words in a passage, reading words on the fluency tables. Those are all things that can be done using the presentation files. And then on the right, you can see what it would look like with the students sitting with their tablets, getting ready to perform the you do stage and show what they've learned during the I do and we do. The teacher at no time is removed from this, from the instruction or during the application piece, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in the future. This is very teacher centric. And the way it is designed is meant for the teacher to always be involved to ensure those students are progressing the way they should. So I'm going to walk through the different components that just real quickly, briefly on what that looks like. So depending on how you choose to implement the program, teachers can access the instruction either through their own set of physical teacher editions, which are pictured on the left, or digitally on a laptop or tablet. So you can see that instruction can be accessed in either modality. So keep in mind that if you are using it digitally, and you are using the teacher presentation files, that as a teacher, I would need to have two devices. I could use the teacher edition on a tablet and the teacher presentation file on a laptop. Or you could use the teacher edition in paper and just need the one laptop to be able to model and practice with the students. So some people prefer that comfort of the print, while others might prefer that flexibility and convenience of the digital access. I know the digital access would be super important to me as a teacher to be able to review those lessons, maybe on my comfy couch at home in the evening before I know I have to facilitate. So we know that that is so much better than having to lug those teachers' editions home with you. So as I mentioned earlier, each lesson in the 95 Phonics Lesson Library can be broken down into 3 stages. The I do, where the teacher models, the we do, where the teacher and the students practice together, and then the you do, where the students apply the learning on their own. So for modeling during the I do and we do stages, teachers can either use the physical cards and manipulatives, which are pictured on the left, or the teacher presentation files, which are pictured on the right. So these digital files will act as the teaching aid that a teacher can click through very easily. This will allow them to really focus on monitoring how the students are progressing. So I'm just going to walk you through what the teacher presentation file would look like during a we do portion of the lesson. This happens to be the sort words on day 2 for 2.3 short vowel I. So I'm just going to click through this quickly so you can see what a teacher might do. And remember that a teacher would be using their instructional dialogue as they went along, sorting the words, pointing to the vowel, and then sorting the words. So this is going rather quickly, but the card would be static at the bottom. The teacher would point to the vowel, say the vowel sound, and then sort the word. Once all the we do is done, I do comes before that, then the we do, we so happen to see the we do portion, then a slide will pop up reminding the teacher and cueing the students that it's time for them to go ahead and either get their printed or physical manipulatives ready, or to go on to that student activity module. So on the right, you would see what it would look like on the student screen. So they would push day 2, because this is a day 2 activity, and sort words. So now we're going to take it what it would look like in the you do. So on the left, you see that the students would have their physical cards, which look very similar to what you would find in the original PLL. And then on the right, you would see what the student activity module would look like for the students on their tablet. And I'm going to walk you through what that would look like. So this is a quick demo of what a student might be doing on their tablet as they are practicing the sort words activity. Oops. Let's see if I can push play here. So what you see is the student is sorting the word cards into the appropriate columns. The teacher is reminding them as they're doing this that they need to point to the vowel letter, say the vowel sound, and then sort the word into the correct category. You can see that there is a corrective feedback loop on this. So even though students are told whether they are correct or need to try again, at no point is the teacher removed from this stage of the lesson. In the teacher's guide, they are frequently reminded that they need to stay with their student and that the teacher is central to the small group learning during the entire 30-minute lesson, regardless of the mode of application. So the teacher is given some instructions on how to lean into each student and work with each student one-on-one while they're doing this independent practice. So this is a quick eagle eye view of all 5 days, showing which activities contain the student activity modules or the SAMs and which ones do not. So the gray boxes represent those more teacher-directed activities. They include phonemic awareness tasks and any of the writing exercises, such as write words, write sentences, word chaining. All of those will require the student to actually put pencil to paper. The colored blocks represent student application tasks, which can be done using the online student activity modules. So those would include tasks like phonics chips, word sorting, read fluently, transfer to text. So all of this can be completed without any prep or cleanup. So I'd imagine by now, if we haven't already had questions, is could you use the original PLL with any of these digital components? And the answer is yes and no. So with a bit of patience and adjustment, the student activity modules can be used with the original PLL. We will have a guide that will help with this compatibility and make it more clear for teachers. Again, I need to stress that it will take some patience and adjustment. If you're familiar with the old PLL, you're one step closer to making that work seamlessly for you. On the other hand, due to the changes in the word lists and some of the instructional components, the teacher presentation files will not be aligned with the instruction in the new PLL 2.0 and can only be used with that version. So that, in a nutshell, is quite a bit of information about all the enhancements. And so I'm going to turn it over to Leah Farrow, who's our Director of Product Management, and she's going to help you better understand the purchasing options.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joni. I did want to address a couple of questions before we dive into that. There were a few questions around what does it sort of look like when a teacher is at a table with students using these devices? How am I getting information as the teacher about what my students are doing on their devices when they use those student activity modules? Joni, do you want to talk about that real quick?
Sure, that's a great question. So, and I'll go back to this picture just so we can kind of visualize what that would look like. I didn't think it was this far back, but so as you can see here on the right, the students will be using their devices. So if it is a tablet, laying it flat on the table, just as it would if it were the sort words, the passages, the fluency tablet, or the fluency tables, the teacher can very easily lean over and be able to guide students. If it is a Chromebook and it can lay flat, we also recommend that you do it that way as well. If it is a laptop and does not lay flat, the teacher will have to get up and be able to monitor moving behind the students. And in any way possible, we need to make sure that that teacher is still tending to each child one at a time to be able to support them and provide that corrective feedback that they need. So that is the vision that we have for using those devices. And I know in a previous webinar, a question was asked about headphones. And we intentionally did not include sound or a need for headphones as well for those very reasons, that we do not want that barrier between the teacher and the students at any point in time. This is essentially just like facilitating the old original PLL, just using devices. But the same great techniques and strategies teachers would use should still be used with the new PLL 2.0.
Thanks, Joni.
Thank you.
I did also just want to mention that teachers are given completion information about student activity modules. So as an educator, I can see when a child has finished an activity, but I'm not able to kind of see their specific responses. That would be gathered in the moment, just like Joni mentioned. I did also see a question about if the activities are downloadable. At this point, they are only available on the platform, so you do have to have a connection and be logged into our 195 platform. Students do have their own logins to that as well. So there is like a per student sort of experience. So we're able to capture information about, when children logged in and how long they spent and what activities they completed and all that good stuff. So happy to provide more information about that if it is needed. But for the moment, let's talk about packaging, please. Thanks, Joni. So the neat thing about this is that we've kind of talked about all of these different ways that you can implement, and it was done really intentionally that there are so many different ways to sort of instruct using Phonics Lesson Library, right? We know that some folks really love the familiarity, the tactile nature of those physical manipulatives, of the paper teacher's guide, of all that good stuff. Some people really love to lean into the digital and are totally comfortable with the student activity modules and want those presentation files. And so there's sort of this world where you can do one or the other, or you could do both. And we sort of think that the best situation is one where you have both because it helps you to address the needs of all learners and also the comfort of all of your educators, right? We know that different people are going to be comfortable with different things depending on their past and their experience, and having both the print and the digital in your sort of arsenal, if you will let people choose what's best for them and for their sort of teaching experience. So let's talk a little bit about what those packages look like. Joni, if you could advance the slide, please. Thank you so much. So what you'll see here is the print at the top and then the digital at the bottom. So we'll talk about the print first. For those who are familiar with Phonics Lesson Library from the original edition, it's the same sort of thing where there's a basic kit, there's an advanced kit, and there's a multi-syllable kit, as you've seen tonight. And what that includes are all the materials you see here. So there are those teacher's guides by skill. There are the physical manipulatives for teachers, those magnetic whiteboard and chips. There are student chips, teacher cards, and all of those awesome assets that Joni showed us, the oral language, oral language tool for elevating oracy, I think is what it's called. Piece, the teacher tips inserts, all that good stuff. And also access to those printable assets and the presentation files. So that first year is included for you. And then as we go down to the digital, this is sold generally as a school-wide access, right? So when you have that digital access, you can access all of the teachers' guides, all of the teachers' guides digitally, let me be clear. So if I'm looking at my 195 account and I have access to this, I'm able to see basic, advanced, multi-syllable, all of those available to me digitally. I also get access to the presentation files for all of those skills, the student activity modules for all of those skills, and again, all of those printable assets. So even if you are a school who's doing just digital and you really wanted to print something, you really wanted your students to do the transfer to text on paper, you feel like they need to highlight those things with their hands, they can do that, right? So we're not saying that just because you only have that digital kit, you can't print anything. That's not the case. So go ahead, Joni, and click one more time for me. I do want to make sure that you leave with an understanding of pricing, because I know that's always a big question. For those of you who are familiar and have purchased this before, you will notice that the price of the print has actually gone down pretty significantly, by about half. So that was intentional, right? The kits have gotten more simple. They have gotten easier to assemble and all that good stuff. And we wanted people to be able to acquire those if they needed them. The digital piece includes both all those little bullets to the left and also that literacy intervention system. So the thing that Shanitra showed us at the beginning, where you're able to provide those assessments digitally with the automated grouping and the recommended lessons and all that good stuff, that is sort of included in that bundle. So you would have the literacy intervention system plus all of those great digital assets that Joni walked us through. If you could continue for me, Joni. Let's talk about availability. In terms of the printed materials, those are scheduled to ship in May of 2025. So we're very excited to have those coming out very soon. The digital subscriptions begin on July 1st, so that you'll have that for this whole full next school year, right? We won't start your subscription in April and have it end in April. We'll start July 1st and it'll end June 30th for you. I did also want to just take a quick moment to mention that we do have some really great discount offers. I know that some of you have purchased Phonics Lesson Library in the past. For those of you who have purchased at all, we have discounts. For those of you who purchased recently, we have really significant discounts. So would encourage those of you with questions about that kind of thing. We're happy to talk those through with you. And really want to make sure that you have the opportunity to upgrade if you so choose. We do actually have an opportunity for everyone to try out Phonics Lesson Library 2.0. So if you are someone who saw something tonight and you were like, ooh, maybe I want to see what that looks like. We have all of these materials available to you on our website. So there is basically a trial that you can do totally for free right on 95percentgroup.com. There's that code right there, the sort of QR code or a web link. This will also be included in that follow-up email that comes to you next week with the recording. So don't feel like you have to scramble right now to grab it. But the trial materials are really nice. And basically what it does is it gives you a week's worth of lesson, a whole week lesson from basic, from advanced, and from multi-syllable. So no matter what level you're interested in, you can kind of see how the lesson plays out. And it is the entire lesson. So you get that whole week of instruction. We also include the teacher presentation files that correspond with that lesson, and the student activity modules. So if you want to try out that digital instruction and sort of see how that looks and feels, those are all opportunities that are available to you. And of course, we have the printable manipulatives too, if you'd rather do out the physical. But really awesome opportunity to kind of dip a toe and see what you think. So please do scan that QR code if you're interested, or again, this will be in that follow-up email.
So Leah, what you're saying is everybody's a winner.
Everybody is a winner.
Everybody's a
Right.
winner. Right, very good.
All literacy teachers are winners.
Yes. So thanks for sticking with us for a couple of extra minutes here, because we just want to preview some things that are up and coming. Joni, you want to move to the next slide? There we go. So we're in the midst of a 4-part webinar series called The Science of Reading 2.0, which is really about implementation. And you can get the first 3 on demand. But then also we have the last one, May 15th, which is just about investing in the science of reading. How do you protect that investment? And then we also have a webinar on March 20th which is about our book, Courage to Lead Literacy, which is again about the implementation science and how do you lead through literacy transformation. Register for these free events here and join us. We'd love to have you. Another upcoming event is we have a Science of Reading Leadership Symposium, April 1st and 2nd in Kansas City. So come on down. It's going to be a great couple days, really focused on leadership teams and how do you build a literacy vision and then create that implementation plan to actualize that vision to improve student outcomes. So please, again, scan this QR code and join us in Kansas City, April 1st and 2nd. I know we had many questions tonight and maybe not all of your questions were answered. You'll be contacted if you were able to respond to the poll. Also, here are our wonderful account executives contact information so you can find your state or region and reach out directly to your account executive. Also, here is my information, Joni's, Leah's, and Shanitra, so feel free to reach out to any of us. Thank you again so much for joining us tonight. It means a lot that you would spend your time with us here, your valuable time with us after, I'm sure, a long day of teaching. We appreciate you so much. It's such an honor to be able to support you and collaborate with you on your important mission that we share. So thank you all. Have a great night. Thank you to my colleagues, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.